Okay, there is definitely something very mystical about this house on the corner, right? And I'm going to tell you why. When I tried to take a picture of this house, there was a guy behind me that was just honking his horn and, just literally going like berserk, right? And I'm like, well, hit me if you want to hit me, but you're not going to force me to do a motherfucking thing. So he was just laying on his horn. And I'm thinking, why would somebody do that, the day after Thanksgiving? But this is part of the house that I'm talking about. It seemed like it's really big and it's extended. But this is it right here. Look at it. Look at it. Okay? And it looks like they're in the process of restoring it. Right? Now, you see them little green? You see how it's green? Right? I think that's tarnish. I think that's tarnished copper. Okay? That's what I think that is. It's tarnished copper. Yeah. Then it has an addition attaching that residence to this resident. You see where that green top is? It's like they attached these two buildings together. But you can tell by the entryway of this other resident that they're together because they got the same style. Very, very, very unique type of home. Very unique, completely different, right? Brick and stone for sure, right? There's a little part. Look at the ornaments on the windows. Look at the the eagles in the entryway. Okay? Very, very, back in its day. So that green is either copper or bronze. That's just, oxidated. I'm not sure what kind of metal turns green when it gets oxidated. It could be iron. But look at the back up there. It's like that when you oxidated some type of metal skylight. Very, very interesting. Like I said, I had to come back. I had to come back and take a look at that house because there's something very spiritual about that house that just made me want to look at it. Like, what the hell? And I didn't care. And even the person that, got really mad because I was driving by slow trying to film the house, right? Then my camera shut down. And I was like, well, maybe I wasn't supposed to film the house because my camera shut down. I got harassed by that guy in the truck who just, leaned on his horn for 5 seconds, 10 minutes, But I was like, no, let's take another picture. Because nobody's around now. Nobody's around. Right? It was like that for that instant that I was trying to take a picture, it was like there was so much traffic for that instant, because I was trying to take a picture. Then I pulled off into the road, and I sat there for a second trying to figure out what happened. What happened to my video? What happened to it? Because it disappeared, and my camera shut down. And I was like, no. We still gonna take this picture. We still gonna take this picture. So I took the picture. Hope you guys enjoyed that house. Also, it's an older house, right? But this should let you know that people was into some things back in the day. People were into some things back in the day. Right? Even today, some people are back into some things, right? Like eBay Foster, right? He tripped me out, right? Virgo. And he was sitting up there, learning all about the esoterics and the occult and stuff. He made this complete contraption of copper over his bed. Yeah, over his bed. Right? Yeah. And I was watching him for a long time. And then, he started having conflicts with, Aries, right? Uriel, Dolo, to be specific. And when he started having conflicts with him, then he just sort of shut down, at least to America, because this guy was over there in Nigeria, right? And Nigeria has a different type of magic. Okay, they do. They have a different type of magic than what is being taught here. Now, there's another lady that has studied magic in Nigeria, and her name is Isis. Matter of fact, she just put out a video sometime within the last week or so, and I watch her too, right? And she would tell me how, she was ordained, as a priestess, and because of that designation, that she's also authorized by her religious cult to be a practitioner and, do spell work. Yeah, right? A lot of people will go to like places like Nigeria and Hades and Jamaica, right? Don't get confused, right? Don't get confused, because a lot of those Rastafarians, they be trying to tap into, mystical powers, for sure. Right? Because they know it's going to take a lot more than a song, to live in this life. It's going to take more than a beat. Oh my gosh. I'm down here by the mall again. And there's a lot of traffic down here. North Park Mall. I'm going back the same way I came. And there's still a lot of people trying to show up to the mall. And I'm like, I'm not trying to. I'm trying to get past the mall. I already made up my mind that, it ain't worth it for me to go to this mall. It ain't. See, the traffic's all the way back here. Lined up. to try to go and find parking at the North Park Mall. And I already showed you what the parking was like. And then next year, these same people that came out here flaunting like they have the money to buy things, they're going to be disappointed when the jobs that they thought was going to be available for them to pay off whatever credit that they use to buy things is not going to be available. They're going to be like, no, I had that, line of credit. I didn't know that, I was going to be laid off, right? But every year since 2020, every year since 2018, there's been massive layoffs. Okay, every year. And you never know when the layoff is going to be, because if Bitcoin investors decide to invest in a business and call it a merger or an acquisition, and then they decide they're going to change up the whole makeup of the business, yeah, that's why I said Bitcoin is probably the worst thing they could have ever allowed to, occur in America. Because they don't have no product. Their product is a whole bunch of people getting together and trying to use money as power. That's all Bitcoin is. So if they have these, worldwide meetings, discussing that, they need to make money or, whatever, and they're still trying to get people to invest in Bitcoin, I suggest that you don't. Because all they do is intercede in business plans to interrupt the cycle of business, supposedly long enough to create losses so they can turn around, then say the supply and demand warrants an increase in price, therefore a false profit margin. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Right? Because if they invest and they hoard products, right? Making it seem like supply and demand, right? They bought them all up only to hoard them and hide them, right? Therefore, creating a need for a certain product that will allow that product to go up in price. Then that's why when we're getting these products that they've hoarded, we're getting them and we're saying, well, what happened to the life cycle of this product that I bought, Because normally, certain products have a certain amount of life cycle. But because it's been hoarded, been put on the shelf or in the warehouse for so long, when you get it, you don't even understand how come, right? Even machinery, even electronics, it doesn't matter what it is, especially if it's food, right? You're talking about there are people out here that will sit up here and try to extend the life of food, on purpose, with a purpose, and then when they decide, no, that we didn't go into war, therefore they don't need the food, so now they try to, resell it, repackage and resell the food. And that same food that they oxidized, right? That they took all the oxygen out of, to try to extend, the expiration date of the food. Then they turn around and they give it to people, and that residue is causing people to have severe allergies and severe respiratory problems. Right? Sometimes they can't sell it. But what they'll do is they'll still repackage it and then donate it. Right? And then it gets donated to who? The poor. Right? Who are the poor? Women and children and the homeless.